148. Hello, everyone. I have to remember my name if we're doing a live. I am Lauren Elkin. I'm a knitwear designer. I live in upstate New York in the Finger Lakes region, and I am joined by my alter ego, Lola. My alter ego, Lola, is spicy and funny, and I always enjoy when she pops out during these lives, so hopefully she'll make her appearance once or twice. I have a ton of yarn to show you, and it is all absolutely scrumptious, and she was playing yarn porn with it earlier, so surely tonight is going to be pretty fun. For those of you who have never watched one of my lives before, I just want to explain to you how these work. If you are watching live, there is a chat box where people are chatting while I'm talking. I have it over to this is my right hand, to my right over here. And every so often, I will look over and see how things are doing. But I am not reading your chat as your chat is happening because I think that's not as fun for the people who are watching it later. But towards the end of the live, I will ask if there's any questions. So if you have a question, if you hold on to it, it might be that I answer it, or I'll ask if there's any questions and I'll give a little time for you to pop those up in the chat for me to answer them. While I'm saying hello, it is super fun to see where you all are from. So if you want to post where you are located and what you're up to tonight, that is always really fun for everybody to read. I do go back through later and watch along with the chat so I can see what everybody was saying because it's a blast for me. I just saw somebody say that they love my scarf. Right as I said that I do not look at the chat, I was totally looking at the chat. I'm also knitting a little bit, so I'm kind of getting that organized. You can see my knitting right here. I have to figure out a way to like hold it up really awkward and high so that you know that I'm knitting, or sometimes we have this slick thing where I can go to the overhead camera and, oh my goodness, those of you in Lola's Choice just got the best stitch marker of your entire life in your kits this week. I hope that those are landing and most of you have gotten them. He's my nice rock. That's what I call him. But I know people are calling their pet rock Lola or pet rock or the schist. Lots of names happening. I am knitting away on something that I'll tell you about in a little bit. But so that's one thing I can do is just slip over to my overhead camera when I want. That's a great way to show you yarn. I also have some photos to share with you today from my trips. I feel like I've been gone more than I've been home in the last month, and I do not have an extensive number of photos to share with you today. It was too much to get together, but I do have like some highlights and stories to tell you about my travels over the last month. It's been a busy time, not a lot of cooking, not a lot of watching of things, a fair amount of reading and knitting and hiking, which has been really fun. And I even got to ski today. And those of you who have been following me for a while know that the only thing that I love more than I love knitting is cross-country skiing. And I had a very good ski today. I did have to stop twice and apply glide. Yes, Lola giggled every time I said that to myself, where I was like, kind of getting sticky. I think I need to stop and apply some glide. And my inner self was like all giggling to myself as I'm skiing. It was very fun, and I do have a photo to show you of that today. We think a mic died, and I've got a puppy coming around. I think we forgot to put my mic on, so I'm going to reach down and grab it. And put that on. That might really help. Thanks, guys. I'm just miking up. Hopefully this isn't too loud while I'm touching it. Let's see. Is that better? Can everybody hear me? I'm going to look in the chat and make sure that you can all hear me. Oh, they can. Oh, it's just okay. Sorry, guys. It's like our first rodeo we're doing here. a little bit distracted. So lots to tell you about tonight. The thing I want to tell you about, the first that I am the most excited about, okay, I love it more than skiing and more than knitting, is the Knit for Food Knit-a-thon. The Knit for Food Knit-a-thon, if you don't know what it is a project I started 3 years ago that has taken on a life of its own. Very exciting. So the Knit for Food Knit-a-thon is a 12-hour knitting marathon that is for knitters to raise funds for food insecurity and hunger in America. This year, the Knit for Food Knit-a-thon is on March 26th from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. ET. 100% of the funds that we raised are split equally between 4 organizations, and those organizations are Meals on Wheels, No Kid Hungry, World Central Kitchen, and Feeding America. Throughout the day on the 26th, we are going to have a Zoom to keep us all entertained. When we first started the Knit-a-thon, it was during the pandemic, so we were all home and we spent a lot of time on the Zoom with each other. Now that we're kind of on the other end of things and into a new normal, I know that there are a lot of public meetups that are happening, which is really exciting. So if you go to the website knitforfood.com, which we just got the other week, if you type in just www.knitforfood.com, you will see, if you scroll down a little bit, that there is a link if you want to see where public meetups are, to find out if there's one in your area. And then there's also a link if you're setting up a meetup for people to knit together, like let's say at your local yarn shop or in a library or your church or wherever, in your senior center. You can post that and then other people can find it and come and knit with you, which is pretty awesome. I think there's about 20 plus meetups already listed on there, and more are getting listed every day. I saw that Fancy Tiger Crafts in Denver just listed themselves today. There's a local one happening near me in Corning at Rabbit Row that I wish I could go to, but I'll be here running things. I am planning on having a few friends over that day to keep me company, because it gets bizarrely lonely when you're on Zoom on and off all day long. So I'm going to kind of have people doing like a dish to pass and coming by, and I'll be streaming from up here during the Zoom and they'll be all downstairs watching it. And then in between Zoom sessions, I can pop down and hang out with them, which I think will make the day extra fun. I probably won't have a voice at the end of the day, and that's okay. I'm very excited to say that the schedule is almost done for that day, and we're getting ready to announce it probably, I would say Friday. I feel pretty confident about announcing it. There's like a few timings we're still working on a little bit, and I try not to change it too much just in case you all make plans to do other things during the day. If you want to be part of the Zoom, all you need to do is raise $100. So you can sign up and join us, raise $100. A lot of people have signed up and donated $100 to Knit for Food, which means $25 goes to those 4 organizations. And then you'll get the Zoom link to hang out with us and knit that day. The Zoom does not happen all day long, because being on Zoom for 12 hours is a path to crazy town. The Zoom happens in about 1.5 to 2 hour sessions throughout the day. There's 4 different sessions happening. We have knitting ergonomics with Carson Demers. We have knitters yoga. We have stretches for knitters. Lola, my alter ego, is working on a kind of crazy idea that she will let you know about. But just think, like, if Richard Simmons and Jane Fonda and Lola developed a knitting exercise program for you to keep your energy up right when you're lagging during the knit-a-thon, kind of imagine that. And that's what I'm envisioning. We'll see if it comes together. I think it's going to involve headbands and knit jewelry on my wrists. I don't know, but I think it could be kind of amusing. So we'll see if that really happens or not. I think I think it's going to be a good time. We're also going to hear from all 4 organizations that we are fundraising for, so we'll learn a bit about all of them. We will hear from Lasagna Love. Lasagna Love, I learned about them last year before the Knitathon. They are an initiative where neighbors make food for neighbors. It's like a really grassroots organization, very similar to Knit for Food in that it started during the pandemic. And I did design a heart-shaped dishcloth and pot holder called Da Love, which is a free pattern on Ravelry. And if you want to knit these during the Knitathon, you can then send them into Lasagna Love. There's a form to fill out, and they'll match you with a lasagna making volunteer. And it's a way of kind of showing some love to those people that are cooking throughout the year for their neighbors through Lasagna Love. So when I heard about all the amazing work that they were doing last year, sometimes I say things and then I'm like, oh, now I have to do that. And I was like, I'm going to totally design you guys a heart-shaped pot holder, and then we're going to all knit them together for you. So I'm going to be knitting one of these. Sorry, I was showing you the back. I'm going to be knitting one of these during the Knitathon to send, and I'm actually going to send both of these on to Rihanna, to the founder, so that she has them in her kitchen, because the work that she's done is absolutely incredible, and I want to honor that. So the Knitathon will also have playlists. I've also got a little movie that I got permission to show you that will be fun to watch together. What else? I know I am missing something. Oh, this is a good one. Game night with Patty Lyons. We're going to be doing Knitters Jeopardy, and Libby, who was on Jeopardy last month, is going to be one of the contestants. And if you are signed up to fundraise for the Knitathon, you can actually enter yourself into a pool of people who are interested in fundraising. And we're going to choose from that pool of people, and 2 of those people are going to be chosen to be on Jeopardy. And then I think 2 or 4 of those people are going to be chosen to be on a knitting match game. So we're going to kind of have knitters that you know and love, and then y'all will be contestants. And it is a great way to wrap up the evening. Last year I was like kind of peeing in my pants for half of it. It was really funny. And the goal with the Zoom is just to kind of keep everybody like going strong as we get into that last stretch of the 12 hours of knitting. It's a long time to be knitting, but it is a fun time to be knitting, especially when you know that your needles are doing such good work for other people. So if you haven't joined us yet, it's definitely not too late to join us. You can share it. If you can't join us, you can donate to people. You can just share and let people know about it. If you know anybody in the news, we do have a press release, and I would be happy to send that far and wide. I've been sending that to the AP like every other day right now, just hoping it gets into the right person's lap, or the right person reads that email and decides to write a story about it. Stores are sending stuff into their local papers. You can send stuff into your local paper. I'm going to move on to the next thing now, but I am so excited about Knit for Food. And so if it's Wednesday and Sundays a week, we're like 10 or 11 days out. And if I look right now on my phone, because I pretty much constantly refresh to see where we're at with Knit for Food, we could do this together. Basically, my phone is telling me, like, you have checked this out a lot lately. If we go to the overhead camera, we are at $167,000, 615, and we have 10 days to go. To give you guys like a little rubric, when last year, 6 days out, we were at 145,000. Typically, last year we raised $271,000, and in my experience, we raised the most money in the last 48 hours. So that like starting next Friday, Saturday. So expect to see that number to go really up as people share what they're doing with their friends and family and kind of get jazzed for their weekend or their day of knitting. Some of us might start knitting a little earlier. You never know. I have to make up my 12 hours in other ways, like right now while I'm talking to you. Okay, Knit for Food. Let's move on to my knitting. It's a pretty good segue, I would say. So a few things are off my needles. One thing that is off my needles that I am not showing you is the Knit for Food on the Brain is the first N Club project. Those kits are going to ship at the end of March. The yarn got here yesterday, or it got here the day before yesterday, luckily, before the snow started. And we are working on scooping beads right now. Postcards have been ordered. Goodies are on their way. So those kits are going to go up by the end of the month. There are about 30 spots left in that club. When that club sells out, it is sold out until 2024. So if you've been on the fence about joining, I'm just going to tell you that the first piece, it's what I brought with me on my travels, and it's really pretty. I love it so very much. And the goodie is going to be teaching you a whole new skill. So I learned a new skill to share with you, because I think one of the things about, for those of you especially who've been doing clubs with me for a while, is me finding things that I'm really intrigued by that I don't know how to do, that I can learn and then teach you, because my gut is that you're probably ready for something new too, or it might be something you've done in the past, but not for a long, long time. So there's your tease on the first N Club project. It has a name. It's a very nice name. Sorry. I'm so silly. Okay, other things off the needles. The Lasagna sweater, which has been off my needles for a little while. I was kind of hoping to have that launched tonight, and it was just one too many things getting home. I'm finding lately that my least favorite part of my job is the release of a pattern and marketing. And I'm working on finding a way. With clubs, it's fun because I have this kind of you're getting a kit. It's exciting. You're not going to know what it is. I get to tell you all about it. But the release of patterns that I've been working on for a while, and I've gone through testing, it's just really, it's kind of, I'm looking for the way where I'm not throwing myself under the bus. I feel like I'm just selling or something. And even though the excitement about the whole design is there, I've had that excitement for months as I'm knitting on it and I'm designing it and I'm working with the testers, but I'm working on finding ways to get the launch piece of the puzzle to also be fun and joyful for me and you. Does that make sense? So Lasagna sweater, it uses the same stitch in the Lasagna shawl and the Lasagna mitts. I showed it to you in the last, I think, 2 lives. And I think I'll release it next week, because since it's kind of a winter shoulder season sweater, I'll get it out there, and then maybe we'll gear up to do a knit along in the fall, or I'll always have a knit along thread in my Ravelry group, but maybe we'll do something more official for it as a knit along structure in the fall. We'll see. I think that it would be really fun to have you all vote on what you think you want your next knit along to be, instead of me deciding. So I think that that's something I could give you 3 choices of things, and then maybe you'll choose what you want it to be. And that's a fun way of involving us all in the process, right? Okay, so I said that, and I want to tell you about what's on my needles. But before I do that, I want to tell you that a tween, and I'm going to bring this up. So this is a tween, which was the first design for last year's N Club. It has been knit with 2 colors of CC's wool, and it is a really fun modular design that uses a really intriguing graft that I learned in Shetland. And the pattern includes a detailed video tutorial that teaches you every step of knitting a tween. The pattern is now available for everybody. And it's got these really fun square Miyuki beads on it. I've clearly been into square Miyuki beads this year. There are a few kits left for a tween in my Etsy shop. So I over-ordered yarn last year, and I just held on to it, and then I put those kits up last night. They're just there till they're gone. I don't think I'm going to end up doing more kits for it. So if that's something that you saw last year, or you're just seeing it now for the first time and you're like, ooh, I want to knit that beauty, that looks very interesting. I think the video tutorial that's included with it is 45 or 50 minutes. So it's pretty in depth. And I know a bunch of you I can see over in the chat box have knit a tween or have the kit from being in the club last year and haven't quite gotten to it. There is a knit along thread in my Ravelry group for it. I am going to make like a little, I've been having fun making little tiny Instagram reels that just like quickly teach how to do something with some fun music behind them. And I am going to do a little Instagram reel on how to do that Shetland graft. I used the same graft in Flola last summer. It's really, really simple and easy and fun to do on things. So I'm going to make that, I believe, tomorrow. I have everything ready to go and my nails are clean. So that's always the biggest thing for me. Like when I get to gardening season, I'm like, how do my nails look? Can I shoot a video? So a tween is launched. I know what I forgot to tell you, and I'll tell you at the end, and I'm going to tell you right now. It is my birthday month. So my birthday is this month, and every year during my birthday month, I have a pattern sale. The pattern sale is always for 28% off all my patterns on Ravelry and my website. It uses the same system, so there's no coupon code necessary. The discount is automatically taken, 20% off all my patterns and ebooks. And someone, I think it was Jenna, asked over on Facebook why I always do 28% off. And that is because Lola is she's actually perpetually a 12-year-old boy, but she's also perpetually 28. And 28 was a really fun year for me. It was like right before I got pregnant. Not that getting pregnant wasn't fun, but I was doing a lot of creative work with different people. I was doing some puppetry with my friend Margot that was like absolutely really fun. And it was just like a really free-spirited and yet focused time. I was working really hard then and making a lot of things. And so I sometimes I wax poetic about being 28. It was a simple time. I think our mortgage when I was 28, our mortgage, including taxes, was $500 a month because we lived in this like log cabin in the woods. It was an easy time. Things were simple. So yeah, we're just waxing poetic about being 28 with that one, Jenna. I think we all have a time in our life we think back on like, that was a good time. These times are pretty good too. I am not complaining. So birthday sale, that is everything that's off my needles. On my needles right now, I do not have a ton on my needles. I forgot one thing that I was going to totally show you, and it's downstairs, so I won't show it to you. But on my needles is another version of this Gneiss scarf. So those of you in Lola's Choice, the kit that you got last week when I got home from Saba and before I left to go to the Outer Banks, I shipped all of your Lola's Choice kits. They were all ready to go. And you got a kit to make Gneiss scarf. I've actually been wearing my Gneiss scarf for a good month and a half around the house. And then when I know I'm not going to run into anybody who's in Lola's Choice, because there's maybe only one person in Trumansburg in Lola's Choice. And I absolutely love this scarf. I'm going to go through some photos so you can see the multiple ways that you can wear Gneiss. Gneiss is a kind of rock. So that is why I named it Gneiss, because if you got your yarn in the mail, you will see that this yarn, which is from Garthenor Organic, and it is a lace weight single ply Shetland organic yarn that is absolutely gorgeous. It makes a stunning fabric that you might think is a little bit toothy, but it really softens up with knitting and blocking. And Max also suggested that if you still think that it's like a little bit scratchy, that you could just beat it against a rock a few times and that would soften it up. And I was like, oh, that's great. It goes with our rock theme all the way there. But this yarn color name is called Boulder. Everybody in their kit got the world's cutest stitch marker, which is this little teeny tiny, let me flip over to it so you can see it, this little teeny tiny pet rock. You got a skein of yarn from Garthenor. You got some 4mm Miyuki square beads that also looked like stone or rock. And then everybody got 3 giant jelly beans. And those have a really funny story. And the funny story is that when I saw these jelly beans on Amazon, I thought they were going to be like Jelly Bellies, like little mini jelly beans. And I was like, oh my gosh, those are so cute. And they came and they were like frickin' enormous. We still have half a bag of them left. Y'all only got 3 rocks, which I think is like the right amount of these rocks to eat. I can't really give these away. Like Willow, who helps me out, her family's not interested. Steffi, who helps me out, her family doesn't want my rocks. So I'll put a big bowl out for Knit for food. I'm definitely going to be like having a giant bowl of jelly bean rocks. But it was one of those like Amazon moments where you think you order one thing and then you pull it out and you're like, oh, you are very, very large. This is some big ass rocks right here. That's what Lola said. Gneiss includes a video tutorial that's about 30 minutes long. I am sold out of kits for Lola's Choice, so that's my way of saying that if you wished you had gotten one, you should sign up for future Lola's Choice now, because I don't think that I'll be making Gneiss a regular kit. I mean, maybe in the fall I'll think about it, but right now it was just a special thing for Lola's Choice members. That stitch marker is going to be everybody's favorites. It's from Whimsy and Sassy. They're in Canada. I found them on Etsy. I was actually searching rock stitch markers one day for the N Club because in the fall, I love rocks. Y'all know that I'm actually a geologist deep down inside. The way we came up with the name Gneiss is my friend who is helping me name it. I think that Gneiss scarf had like 5 names. It had Lolite as a name. It had Lolita. We were like making up names that sounded like rock. And then Steffi found this Gneiss rock, which is I forget if it's like metamorphic or sedentary. I knew for the video, I told you guys all about it in there. And she was like, well, what about Gneiss? And I was like, well, it is a very nice scarf. I mean, and she was like, yeah, it's the schist, which is like a really bad geology joke right there. So the pattern is available on Ravelry. It's 28% off right now. So if you're wanting to knit it, I'm like everywhere. I'm going to show you photos of this very nice scarf. That's just like a little kit photo. This is me wearing Gneiss wrapped around my neck, just like I am right now. This is me wearing Gneiss long. It has this little strip of very simple Shetland lace with a little mesh stripe on it. I discovered one night right after I finished Gneiss that I absolutely loved wearing it on my head as a scarf. And I love how the long ends hang down on it. It's really nice and light because it's lace weight. So I've been wearing it that way too. I feel like I'm getting back to my Eastern European roots when I wear it that way. I'm totally here for it. Here's a close-up of the bead, so you can see that bead sitting on the stitch. That's placed with a crochet hook or super floss. There's our favorite little stitch marker. He's so nice. And this is the other way I love to wear it, which there's a scarf that many of you have heard about called the Sophie scarf. And that is designed by, I think, Petite Knits. I bet if I say that, a bunch of you in the chat are going to be like, I knit Sophie scarf. It was great. It's a very simple garter stitch scarf that kind of like goes to a point and then comes back down again. And the styling of it is so brilliant because she kind of wraps it around her neck and ties it. She is certainly not the I forget Petite Knit's real name, but she's certainly not the first person to wear a scarf like that tied around her neck, just like this. But it's such an effective way to wear a scarf, and I kind of forgot about it. It's very like French or European, or I don't know what it is, but it's a very comfortable way to wear a scarf, and I am loving wearing my scarf like that, or like this, or however. It's very nice. So I'm glad to hear that Lola's Choice members are so happy with the theme of this kit. I'm working on the next design. I'm almost going to get stressed about it. It's all up here and it's got to get onto the needles soon. And I have the concept and I know what you guys haven't had in a very long time. So I think that's where I'm going with it. But I got to kind of like get down to it and do it. So pretty soon it'll get from here onto my needles because then we have to like order the parts and everything. these things sometimes happen quickly and sometimes they happen with some overnight shipping. It's pretty cost effective. Okay. What's next? There's the nice scarf. So what I was going to tell you is the other thing on my needles is a nice scarf for my mom that is in this absolutely lovely skein of Shibui silk mohair that I found in Deep Stash. And Shibui is, I think they closed their doors and they're no longer around. So it's just going to be a single skein. It's this lovely, gorgeous blue color. I'm putting Czech crystal beads on it. It's very pretty. I'll make sure to take a picture for you all before I send it off to her. But she had a big birthday this month, so I wanted to do something special for her. And she's also my archivist. So special designs I try to make sure she gets one of, because I know that in however many years, 30 years, 40 years, they're going to be looking as good as they looked when I gifted them to her. So that's what I'll say about my sweet mama. Okay, the thing on my needles right now is, and it's not blocked, so you have to forgive the hem that's flipping up on this side and not on that side. This is going to be a bling tee. So lots of you remember bling tank that I designed and released last spring. It is a sweet little tank top that's bottom up with a notched hem and seed stitch side panels. And I know that many of you said, I love that, and I would like a t-shirt, please. So what is on my needles right now is a t-shirt version of that. I gave it like a fake side panel because I'm actually working in the round, which has been so nice for travel. And I like working in the round a little bit more than working flat. But I think because of the way this hem has worked, and I still have the notched hem right there, I think it's gonna lay really, really beautifully. I'm gonna have it come up right here with the raglan line. I have this kind of like faux seam happening on the side to make it, oh, maybe I forgot I have an overhead camera. I have this like little faux seam right here with purl stitches on each side of my faux side panel, and that is going to be what becomes the raglan line. And I'll have that little yarn over knit two together thing happening just to have like kind of like a little lace line, and the beads will just be right here in between that raglan line, because if I do beads all over, it's going to get too heavy too quickly, and especially in the larger sizes. So it's just going to end up having bling right here, but it'll have a cute little short sleeve tee that can be made longer or shorter. And I actually think that that would be a great next knit along for us all to do the tee and the tank top together, because they're going to be very wearable and kind of like year-round wearable. I've been wearing the tank top a lot this winter when I go indoors to places with a shirt over it, like a jean shirt over it and the tank top, because ladies, I get hot and I need to take off my shirt. And then I got my little bling tank top on, but I can't talk. I was just in North Carolina and now I have a Southern accent. It happens to me very quickly. The yarn I just looked over and saw is Leading Men Fiber Arts, which is the exact same yarn that I used for the bling tank kits. And this is a good time to tell you that I just got a restock on a few of those colors. There are not a lot of them, but if you'd been waiting for a color that sold out when I originally got them, there are a few more back in my shop. Those look a little, I've got to do a tiny bit of selling, I guess. Not my fave. All right, that's kind of everything on my needles. My father-in-law's socks are going to be on my needles till next Christmas, so we don't need to talk about them. They just actually are still up here from the last time I did a live. I've not knit a stitch on them since then, so not a lot to tell you about that. Next up, I want to tell you about my travels, and that's going to be pretty quick. And then I'm going to tell you about all the yarn I bought, and that is going to be very exciting. I see yes to the cowl for the bling tee. I think that's the thing. I'm going to knit faster. I've got like 20 rounds to go before I get to the fun part on this. So let's see. Travel. I've got 7 photos for you. What is very funny about this travel is all the different oceans I saw in a short period of time. So some of you know that at the end of February, I was invited to do an artist residency on the island of Saba. If you don't know where Saba is, you fly to St. Martin and then you take a very small airplane and land on the world's shortest commercial runway. For a pilot to land on that runway, they need to have trained for at least 2 years. I know some people said that some people in their house have flight simulator, like their sons or their husbands or themselves. And the Sabin airport is on flight simulator, like one of the versions of flight simulator. It's like a challenging landing to do. So you can fly there. It takes about 14 minutes to fly, or you can take a ferry, which takes about an hour and a half and is pretty rough from what I hear. So we flew over and back to Saba. I taught 4 different knitting classes when I was there, 3 to adults and 1 to kids. The Learn to Knit class was kind of the most enrolled class. The other classes were quite small. It was mostly locals that signed up for my classes, which was really fun. And what I will say about Saba is it was my first time doing something as like an influencer, which I don't know if it rubbed me the right way or the wrong way or whatever, but it was a little weird to me. And I was, supposed to be posting while I was there to share the island, and I certainly did, and it's absolutely lovely. And the first 5 or 6 days I was there, I was like, I'm moving to Saba. This place is amazing. It's small. Everybody knows each other. There's incredible hiking. There's tons of creatives. It's just like a really unique and tight-knit community. And then the last 4 days, I was like, okay, maybe I need something a tiny bit bigger for retirement. So I kind of went through, I'm kind of glad I was there that long, because I got to go through the I want to move here. I found a house for sale on one of my walks. It's basically a volcano sticking out of the Atlantic Ocean, and one side is the Atlantic, one side is the Caribbean. There's really good diving there if you're a diver. Awesome hiking. It's part of the Dutch Caribbean, and it's actually the highest point in the Netherlands, which I think is very funny. So look it up on a map. I think it's a great place for a vacation. The one thing to know about Saba is there are no beaches on Saba. So if you're somebody who's going to a Caribbean island because you want to go to the beach and hang out at the beach, there's a wandering beach that shows up sometimes. We didn't make it down to that beach, but we tried to make it there one day, but there was a giant washout, and Max and I had to turn back and hike up a different way. Exciting times. We didn't die. That's what I say about that hike that day. We didn't die. But if I show you some photos, I did hike up to the top of the mountain on the second or third day with a friend that I met, Duco, who was awesome. And you can see his hand right there pointing down at the landing strip that is the flattest spot on the island where they could put the runway. So we hiked up to the top. It was a really, really fun hike. This is the walk Max and I went on one afternoon, and it was so interesting because when you got to different elevations, it was a whole different jungle. So I felt like we walked through 4 different forests or 5 different forests or jungles as we were hiking up to get to the trail that was going to keep us from dying. And one of the coolest things is if you see kind of in front of Max what he's looking at, those are all these aerial roots coming down from these plants that are very much like monsteras. I'm not sure if they were monsteras. We couldn't quite get an ID on them, but they had these incredible aerial roots. And the fiber artist in me was wanting to do macrame with all of them, create some kind of amazing installation on that tree so that when somebody walked up the trail, they would be wowed by my knotting work. But that's not very nice to do to the plants or the tree. So of course I didn't do it, but I was, very, very tempted. I saw Nancy said that the runway looks a little bit like the runway on St. Vincent. And I agree, Nancy, but I have landed in St. Vincent, actually, because I took the ferry from St. Vincent to Beckway. Now I'm sounding like I travel a lot. And that runway was longer than Saba runway. That was pretty funny. Okay, so amazing hike. And then I found this caterpillar, and I don't have the photo for you with Max's finger for scale, but this caterpillar was bigger than Max's finger. And, he's a guy. He's got like a nice long finger. So it was like a good 6 inches, I would say, maybe longer. I had to look it up. It is a giant sphinx caterpillar. It would bite you. Its jaws are big enough to bite you. I don't normally think of caterpillars as biting you. And I was looking it up because I thought it was going to be like the world's most glorious butterfly. And it's actually like a not very exciting moth. I mean, all moths are beautiful. All creatures are beautiful. But this caterpillar, come on. Totally awesome. I do think he's like poisonous if you eat him, so maybe that's why he's those colors, to keep the birds away from him. And they love to eat frangipani. I think that's like their favorite thing, so they can like decimate a frangipani tree. I did get a tiny bit of video of his head, which was freaking awesome. So cool. Here's just another view looking down from the forest to another point on Saba. And really, I took this photo to show you what the ocean looked like, kind of like my ocean experience when I was on Saba. And then the last day when we left Saba, we went to St. Martin for 8 hours. And we went to a beach that was just like blue, blue, blue. It was so beautiful, like classic, sandy beach and Caribbean blue ocean. We had a really lovely lunch with an old friend of mine who, she's as old as I am, but I've known her since I was 19 and I hadn't seen her in a long time. It was really fun. That is Saba way in the distance, actually, from St. Martin, from the beach. And then I came home for a whopping 48 hours and had a gorgeous sunset. I also went and saw Taughannock quickly because I missed it. And then I went to the Outer Banks and saw a completely different ocean. I saw the Atlantic Ocean, and it was like big and rolling and wintry and totally awesome and like loud in that way that the ocean in the Outer Banks is loud. And that was kind of crazy to do. And then I came home and skied. So I feel like I'm not sure that my soul has entirely caught up to my body yet. I feel last night I slept like 10 hours. I look well rested, and then I skied, and I think I'm catching up to myself. But that was, I had a meeting with Patty Lyons the other day for Knit for Food to kind of figure stuff out. And she and I have a trip together at the end of the month. And we were chatting, and she was like, you pulled a Patty move with that one. Like, I typically have a rule that I do 1 travel a month. I don't do back-to-back travel where I'm home for 2 days. But sometimes that's just the way things work out. And I did it. And now I'm home until 2 weeks from today. So I'm just leaning into home and loving being here and hoping to get as many skis as I can in before all that snow melts. I heard it's supposed to rain on Friday, which is stupid and dumb. Dumb and stupid, because skiing is glorious and it is my happy place. Did I mention I like it more than knitting? Do you want to see my yarn now? I've got lots of yarn to show you. So I am going to set my knitting aside. This is like the porn section of this live. And I felt like I hadn't gone yarn shopping. Like maybe I've gotten, trying to like think back to when I bought yarn. I bought a little yarn when I was at Four Pearls in December. But I'm kind of thinking about clubs and thinking about future collaborations and mystery knit-alongs and what have you. So what I'm going to show you might be bases that you see in a club or in a design in the future. They might not. But what my goal was when I was, when I was in the Outer Banks, I was at the Tidewater of Virginia Knitting Guild retreat. It was a freaking blast. I'm so sorry I didn't say that earlier. 80 knitters, they were just in it to win it, to have a good time. And I was right there with them. I love retreats like that so much. So if you have a guild that does retreats and you bring a teacher in, they're my favorite thing. I am always happy to be hired to go be on a retreat with you. Seriously. But they also had a marketplace, which I did not know they were going to have a marketplace. And my goal lately has been to find new bases, like the superwash sock yarns that everybody has. And, you know, it ends up being like who does what kind of color. And that can be really interesting. And what's nice about those bases, like this Leading Men Fiber Arts base, is a base you can get all over the place. But it means it's really easy to substitute for people because you can kind of find it from another person. It's a little easy to do like mix and match if you have colors already in stash. But I really want to find new bases. So that is what I did on this trip, and I am excited to show them to you. So this was new bases and new dyer. This is both yarns from Passion Knits. Her name is Ein. I had never met her before. I think she was just at Vogue Knitting Live. If any of you are at Vogue Knitting Live. Now, you can't feel these, and I wish you could, because they are both so freaking scrumptious and yummy. And originally I saw, I'm just going to show you this one. It's called Bubbling Brown Sugar. And when I first saw it, I was like, that color's not that exciting to me. It's a little pale. I'm not sure it's the best color for my skin. It's actually maybe not as horrible as I thought it was, although I have a little tan right now. But what I got really excited about is that it's 56% extra fine superwash merino wool and 44% mohair. And it's just got like a little bit, we'll do it like this. It's like got a little bit of like a halo from the mohair, but it's not pilly, and it's really soft. Like it's a really fine mohair. And it's a single ply, which I think is interesting, but it seems like it's going to hold its structure really well. So I want to kind of, you know, put it through some paces and knit up some swatches and be a little rough with it and see what it's going to do. And then I had this other yarn kind of down a little bit from it that's a baby alpaca mulberry silk cashmere that you know is yummy in this kind of color I never buy for me. I never buy like the highlighter neons. It's called Respect. But together, these two yarns are so fun together. Like the color work or playfulness that these two yarns could do together, I am very, very, very excited to see how they're going to play off of each other. I also know that Ein will dine for me. She sells wholesale, which is always a question I have when I'm doing kits. So both of these, this is how I shop. I buy single skeins and I audition them. I know I've been getting asked a lot lately, like about design motivation. This is what I do. I buy single skeins of yarn. I audition them. I play with them. I kind of see what they want to be. I try them in stockinette. I try some lace. I try some brioche, kind of ask it what it wants to be. And then I figure out what to do from there. So very excited about both these bases. I'm like, yay, new bases. And then you all know what I do when I'm done showing you something. I drop it on the floor. Max hates that. We love doing that. Then I was gifted a skein of yarn from Queen City Yarns. They had yarn in I'm sorry, I forget the name of the store that had the booth there. I feel really bad about that. But they gifted me this skein of yarn, and it is a 65 silk, 35 linen. I think it's a very, very similar base to Anzula Vera, which you all know I love Anzula Vera. And it's this gorgeous caramelly color, which, you know, clearly this is the part of where I just like hold yarns up to my face. Like I love the caramelly golden colors. So I'm going to play with this. I think I know how it behaves, but I'm excited. I love Janet's colors from Queen City Yarn. So pretty excited about this yarn. I just saw someone say they're allergic to mohair. I know a few people are allergic to mohair, so that is something to think about. And I'm glad you said that, Karen. These two yarns. Are you ready? I'm just going to like slap the overhead on. Get ready. We're going to make inappropriate sounds now. Ooh. Yummy. Let's get that out of there. Both of these yarns are from Aster Fiber Company from Kendra. And Kendra and I had never met before. I was actually already following her on Instagram, so I knew all about her. And this first one, the plume that I'm going to show you, is a base that I know. It's 74% baby Surrey alpaca and 26% silk. And it is a great replacement if you are allergic to mohair and you want to use a silk mohair yarn. This is a very similar base to what I used in Open Minds. It's super soft and yummy. It opens up for lace beautifully. It's great held together with other things. And then this insanity, which is basically like your 80s, 70s, 60s shag carpet, is called Shag DK. And it's this colorway is called Temperate for both of these skeins. And I want to hold them together and see what they're going to do. I could almost see doing like a Lolancha style sweater, just like some yummy pullover in both of these held together, just like some fuzzy, warm, lightweight, working on, I'm like dancing because I'm so excited about it, working on some big ass needles and just have this like slouchy, yummy, you know, kind of mohair-y boucle throwback to the 80s. I have a sweater somewhere. Ooh, I'm going to find that sweater. I have a sweater that I had when I worked at Flax that was like boxy AF. It was like cropped and boxy and the sleeves were just the right amount of tight. And it was so scrumptious for layers. And I think doing something like that, I just got very excited. With these one day would be really fun. We're going to drop that. Moving on to the next yarn. Is this fun for you guys? This is fun for me. Color-wise, I just chose 2 colors. She has tons of colors, right? So I'm more of a like red, obviously. I was trying to buy something that's not like what I always freaking wear. This next yarn, I won this next skein of yarn because everybody's a winner at the Tidewater Knitting Guild retreat. And this skein of yarn, I haven't totally figured this out yet. It is from Fiber Nymph Dye Works. It is a soft summer palette pie. And so it's Lisa from Fiber Nymph Dye Works has been dyeing self-striping yarn for a long time. And this self-striping yarn is in a pie formula. But what I don't understand is, because this is a DK weight yarn, is what would happen if I tried to knit a hat or like a bralette out of it, or if I need to have 2 skeins to knit socks that are the same in DK, or like, could I do some fingerless mitts in it maybe? I need to kind of reach out to her and be like, what's the story? Explain this, how the self-striping works for a little bit. I know that there's a note that says the stitch marker denotes the beginning of the striping pattern on each skein. So I've got like a stitch marker tied right there, but I don't know if there's 2 on this skein. I haven't opened it up. I'm sure I could do some research or send an email, but I bet she has blog posts and YouTube videos, because I think she has had a YouTube channel for a long time that would explain how to use this. If any of you know about this DK weight yarn, this is the Tweety yarn, so you saw it had those little flecks in it. If any of you know about it and could save me some time and like send me an email with the blog post about how this gorgeous yarn works, I would appreciate that, because I love it. Pretty exciting. I just saw somebody said that Lisa is great, so she's got to be great. The next 2 yarns that I got, also very excited about. Overhead camera. They are from Little Fox, from Amy at Little Fox. This one is a true wash DK, which means it can be washed. It's an organic merino, but it's not superwash in the traditional sense of the word. And I need to read a little bit more about that to understand that. So I got that base from her, which is gorgeous. And then I also got this Willow, which I actually had another skein of in my stash that I got last year from Liftbridge Yarns, but she changed the base a little bit. So it's 70% organic merino and 30% hemp. And I believe that that this is a main camera. This is a sport weight and this is a DK, but this is one of those yarns when you change the needle size, it can kind of like be a DK or a worsted or go tighter. So I think they're gonna play very well together, these 2 bases, and I have an idea and I'm not gonna tell you about it, so forget I ever told you about that yarn. This is fun, I hope you're having fun. Are you ready for some real yarn porn? This skein is actually for you guys. I bought it at Yarns and More. We went yarn shopping, and I need to actually put this there. This, whenever I go travel, and I'm sure many of you are like this, I like to go to a local yarn store and then I ask them if they have any colors that are unique to their yarn store, like that they've had dyed either by a local dyer or another dyer for their store. And this is La Jolla by Ba Yarn, which is a base that I know well and love. And this color is called Outer Banks. And it's just like, I don't know, I feel like there's so much gorgeousness going on. And this yarn has this just like kind of like lovely pearlized sheen to it. There's all these like little hints of color, but it's also very beachy and skyy, and it looks like summer. And this skein of yarn is going to be your giveaway at the end of the live. So make sure that you watch to the end, and then I'll give you a prompt, which I haven't thought of what that prompt is going to be yet. And then you'll be able to win this skein of yarn that I bought for you, because I love buying you yarn. It's really fun for me. Karen says it would look great with glass beads, and I don't disagree. The other thing I got, the goodie bag was freaking amazing at this retreat. And we got a full skein of Periwinkle Sheep watercolors, which I have designed with before, in rose quartz, which is an absolutely beautiful pale pink. And then we got a watercolor mini set, which is also gorgeous. And so I kind of got these to go together with each other. I'm trying to see if I can show you the whole watercolor under there with the solid. I'm not sure if these will end up being a giveaway in the future or I will end up designing with them. They're both colors that are available from Periwinkle, and I love Karen. She is a great dyer and great human. Let's see. I think that's all my yarn. I already told you about the Garthenor. The other things that I have here that I didn't tell you about is one of the things I did in Saba besides teaching is I took some classes and I learned how to quill. And quilling is really fun. It is basically a twirled paper technique. And I got a whole kind of kit for quilling. So there's these papers that you can buy that are already cut. And here's one that got a little crushed in the process, but you can see it's just like a long strip of paper. And then you can take your strip of paper and you use this little tool. So fun. I haven't done it since I did the class, but I got into it real quickly. Let's see if I can move this over and show you how easy it is to twist paper. It's kind of addictive. There you go. See, there's a little slot in this quilling tool, and then you just start to wrap your yarn. Oh my God, I just said yarn. You wrap your paper. Somebody was going to be like, she said yarn, teacher. You wrap your paper, and then it helps to have like a little ruler with different size circles in it, so you can kind of like pop this open. So I'm going to have to see if I can do it with my hand, and I don't have any glue, so whatever I do is not going to stay. But see how I got kind of this little round bit right there? And now I'm going to like kind of let that pop open just by kind of controlling it with my fingers. And then I can kind of zhuzh it with my hand so that I've made this little kind of like round or oval eye. We're back. Hello, everybody. I was just getting ready to send you all a ton of gifts because this is my personal favorite GIF. I have some other favorite GIF. Oh, this is my favorite GIF. I'm sending you more gifts right now because I was texting with you while Max came back. So his phone's going to be blowing up because this was his text thread. Was that fun? I'm back. Thank you for your patience. That worked out. I'm glad I had. Do we have sound? They're saying thanks. Can you guys all hear me? Patient people. Max gets a superhero cape. Quilling. Wasn't that fun? Good times. Okay, we can hear me. We're back up and running. The other thing that I did in Saba, which was fun that I had done before and I kind of like had some muscle memory, is I made some glass beads. And these aren't quite all of them that I made, but I made a bunch with Jo Bean. She has a studio and you can sign up and take classes with her. And, you know, Corning Museum is really close to me and you can do glass bead workshops there. And I'm a little tempted to like sign up for like a 8-week glass bead making thing at some point. I think it would be really fun to just play with another medium. And don't worry, I'm not giving up on my knitting, but pretty fun and good time. There's something about like the torch that makes me feel really powerful. And also you have to be super focused when you're working with it because obviously if you space out, you could burn yourself or somebody else or, you know, so there's this kind of, you get into the zone. And I like things like skiing and knitting and glass bead making where you get into the zone. I created it. I did not paint them. It's like little bits of glass and you turn it and it's really fun to do. We should all go to Corning. If we ever do another Knit Ithaca, that's my like one day, you guys. Right now with Knit Ithaca, I would love to do another Knit Ithaca, but I worry that I put all this energy into planning Knit Ithaca and then I'd be sick that weekend and not be able to be there with you. And I kind of like, that makes me not sleep well at night. And I love sleep after skiing and knitting. It's like, how many things do you love? So many things. Moving on. The last bits to tell you about is kind of like what I've been reading and cooking and listening and watching because that's always just fun to share with you. I have it all written down and then I'm going to ask if you have any questions about what I've talked about. So get ready with your questions. As soon as I make it through this list, you'll want to pop them into the chat so that I can answer them. Okay, books. I am reading the Notorious Murder Mystery series by Reagan Davis. And I did not know about this series, but my friend Sue had asked Reagan to share Knit for Food with her readers because she has like a mailing list and a Facebook group. And so Sue told me about her books and I bought the first 3 of them. I'm reading the first one. I think I just finished the first one last night, actually. And before I go read another one, because I talked about this in the last live. Mysteries are not my favorite thing, partially because they keep me awake because I want to find out who did it, right? I started Horse, which I'm really enjoying by Geraldine Brooks. I'm not sure if anybody here has read Horse, but I took a little snippet to tell you about it. A discarded painting in a junk pile, a skeleton in an attic, and the greatest racehorse in American history. From these strands, a Pulitzer Prize winner braids a sweeping story of spirit, obsession, and injustice across American history. This book jumps 3 locations and 3 times in history seamlessly. That's actually me. I wrote that. So you're like in 3 different places in the US and at 3 different times, and it feels very seamless when you're kind of like jumping from one person to the other, and I'm in the kind of character development piece of it. And I already, you know how those books that get kind of caught with you where you're already thinking about them and you already like feel a connection to those people? That is where I am at with Horse. So excited to go to bed tonight because I get to read a little bit more. The other book I'm excited about that's coming out is my friend Justine told me about it, and it is Bernie's Mitten Maker by Jen Ellis. And Jen Ellis is the teacher from Vermont who made Bernie's mittens. And she wrote a memoir kind of about her experience of having like instant internet meme fame from making these mittens that Bernie fell asleep wearing during the inauguration. So I have that on order for myself, and I got one for my friend Gneiss, who makes felted mittens, because I think that it'll be really fun for her, because I know she sold a lot of mittens that winter after that meme happened. I think we all had experiences with the Bernie Mitten meme. In terms of listening to books, because I listen a lot, particularly when I travel on the plane. If I don't have a screen, then I listen. I do use Libro FM for all of my books, and I'll give you a link below if you want to sign up for it. It's like an alternative to Audible, and the money, some of the money that you spend for your monthly subscription goes to your local bookstore. So that's kind of cool. I kind of weaned myself off of Audible and went to Libro FM, so I get a credit every month to get an audiobook. And I've actually been listening to so much lately that I almost need to buy some more credits. Normally I have like a little pile of them, but so I just finished Unraveling by Peggy Orenstein while I was traveling on this trip, and it's great. She reads it. I highly suggest listening to it, especially if you are a knitter or spinner or a dyer. You're going to hear about people you know in there, and she's a great writer and a great storyteller. I could relate to her curly hair stuff, a few different things about raising a daughter during the pandemic. There was a bunch in there where I was like, you're speaking my language, Peggy. I hear you right now. I finished right before Unraveling a book that I adored, and it is called The Latecomer by Hanff Lorelitz, and it is about a dysfunctional family, but it is about so much more than that. It is about kind of fine art and modern art. It is, part of it is set in Ithaca because there's 3 triplets that are born at the same time, and 2 of them go to Ithaca, and the father went to Ithaca, and I think the grandfather went to Cornell. So there's like some kind of Ithaca Cornell stuff going on. There is like some antique furniture and kind of found furniture stories happening. There's also a lot of dysfunctional family happening. It just kept me going. The character development was superb, so I kept wanting to, like, it was just the right time when she would like check in with the next person, which I really, really enjoyed. And what I have queued up to listen to next is We All Want Impossible Things by Catherine Newman. I've heard that it's going to make me cry. It's about 6.5 hours of listening, and I believe it's about a woman whose friend is sick with cancer, but I'm not totally sure. I'm reading it for book group, and I just downloaded it, and I almost didn't want to know too much about it before I dove in. So next time I'll be able to tell you what my take is on that. I promise I tell you when I don't enjoy things, because I think that that's helpful to hear as well. In terms of watching, I am still watching Poker Face every week when it comes out. I just kind of caught back up on those. I really love it. I also watched the Murdaugh murders on Netflix because, of course, I did, because how could I not? And they released that right with the trial. Very, very smart Netflix on that one. You know, I like Below Deck. I've never been shy about liking Below Deck, so I got to catch up on my Below Deck, and then I was admitting that to somebody sheepishly at the retreat, and she was like, you might want to try Farmer Wants a Wife. So last night I watched the first NBC show, the first episode of Farmers Wants a Wife, and it's basically about like farmers who are looking for a wife who don't have time to date, and so it's like a dating reality show for farmers. And what I found out is there's 3 seasons of it set in Australia before it was kind of picked up in the US. So now I'm kind of like starting to watch the Australian ones. Maybe there's even more than 3 seasons, because Australian accents and like the outback, it's potentially more fun for me than the US version. But, you know, sometimes when you're just knitting stockinette stitching the round, you got to be amused. So that's what we got going on there. It's a good at the end of the day, kind of let it all go and then sleep for a while before I wake up and work on Knit for Food more. finally, what I really want to watch on Friday night, and I have a friend coming over to watch it with me, is Women Talking by Sarah Polley, which just won an Oscar for an adapted screenplay. She's from Toronto. I'm not sure where it was filmed, actually, if it was filmed in Canada or Toronto, but it sounds really interesting. So that's kind of unlike my things I want to watch list. We are almost done. So, I was just looking over to see if there are any questions, but I don't see any. In terms of eating, hardly been home, not been cooking. I got home late on Sunday night, like for that trip to Outer Banks. I left at 3:45 in the morning on Thursday morning is when I kind of got up and left. And then I came back and I was home by 2 a.m. on Monday morning. So late Sunday night, Monday morning. And there's just not been a lot of cooking here, but I came home and I was like, Max, I want rice and beans so bad. Like I just wanted kind of like a cleanse because you know how travel eating is. It's yummy and it's fun, but like just needed like something simple. So I have a cookbook that I've not cooked a lot of recipes from, but I really like it, from Milk Street, called Fast and Slow. And it's for Instant Pots or slow cookers. So you can kind of like, all the recipes are written for like if you want to use your slow cooker or you want to use your pressure cooker, right? Like both ways. And I looked in here for a bean recipe and I found one that was so good because what's exciting about this rice and bean recipe, I made the rice separately, is I used the last of my black beans that I bought during the pandemic. So I bought like a 5-pound bag of black beans and the last cup was used to make these black beans. But you don't even need to soak them if you're using the Instant Pot, which is pretty fun. And you put a whole head of garlic in there and you just chop off like the top third and like kind of make sure it's clean and slap it in there with all the other stuff. There's like bay leaves and chili powder and salt. And like I used some tomato paste because I didn't have cherry tomatoes and onion, and you cook it for a while. And then once it's done, you just like squeeze out all of the garlic from the whole head of garlic that's in there. And so we've been eating that all week and it's pretty good. And at some point I actually was like, I can just take my immersion blender and turn it into black bean soup if we're like done eating beans. So that's my plan. If we need to, do it. It would be great with paprika, that smoked paprika. It would be awesome in there. I used some chili powder that I got when I was in New Mexico, but also great with paprika. So pretty exciting eating life right now. I am thinking about what to make when people come over for Knit for Food. I asked my friend Denise to bring a salad, and I am going to make focaccia because I love focaccia. I am looking over to see if there are any questions. So I am going to kind of zoom up a little bit to see if I missed any. Well, I think I saw what was the name of the Outer Banks yarn store. The one that I went to was called Yarns and More. Sorry, I'm having a hard time. Tonight is hard. Yep. Yarns and More. So I don't see any other questions. I guess I answered them. When I'm done, I will be giving you links to everything that I think I talked about below. But if there's anything, once those links are up, that you cannot find and you have a question, I will go ahead and make sure to add that to the notes. Susie wants to know who's standing in front of the Knit for Food knit-a-thon. And that is actually my mother-in-law's birthday. Someone asked what's the question for the prize. I'm going to give that right before I say goodbye, Ingrid. So that's like the last thing I do because otherwise we keep chatting and it never goes well. I got this when I was in Mexico. And of course, I'm going to forget the name for these mystical creatures. I think I talked about them in the last live. They're made in Oaxaca. And I love it, but it's my mother-in-law's birthday present. So when we get to go see her, hopefully Saturday night, we are going to give us. No, I can't give you an estimate for yardage for Bling Tea yet because I'm nowhere near done with my size. So I'm going to wait to give you that until I have it for sure. Patricia said, just wanted to thank you for letting me know the 3 rocks in the kit were edible. It was actually really funny because I was worried you guys would think they were like rocks for your table. So I said candy rocks on the card. But then what I didn't tell everybody was that the stitch marker is tucked inside the yarn label. So a lot of people thought they didn't get their stitch marker in their kit. And I've answered a lot of emails telling people to look inside their yarn label for this. One person did get a bag of beads shoved in there as well. So, you know, we try. Every once in a while, I think, you know, when you're building kits, your hands just start automatically doing things. And so I just pop stuff in the mail if anything gets... Yes, alebrijes. Thank you, Karen. I always forget what they're called. It's a really cute little guy. And I have a few that I bought in Mexico years ago, but that one in particular, I think my mother-in-law is gonna love him. Okay, so I don't see any other questions, and I've been talking for longer than I meant to again, because I can chat. We're going to see each other really soon for Knit for Food. All of those of you who are going to be knitting along with us, that Zoom link will go out to everybody who is signed up and has raised $100. It'll go out next Friday or Saturday. The Zoom is Sunday, March 26th, on and off from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. We are going to raise, I'm shooting for $300,000. I think we just like go big or go home. I think we can do this. I think that splitting that evenly amongst 4 organizations is going to make a really big difference in a lot of people's lives. And I hope that you will consider joining us. Thank you all so much. I need to give you your prompt before I say goodbye. Leave a comment, not in this chatter thread, but below as soon as this live ends, and tell me your favorite beach, because I've been to a few beaches lately. If you've never been to a beach, say which beach you would want to visit first. I don't know. It seems like beach themed. The yarn is beach themed. Everybody's kind of got a favorite beach or a beach they would love to visit one day. So let's go for that as our prompt for something completely not knitting related, but means you watch to the very, very end to get to that. And I thank you all so much. I will see you soon. Happy knitting.